Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Yeah, so how did it actually come about then? What made you think of, did you just think of starting a documentary, or did you think to document your mum's journey, and then it's obviously, I know the outcome of the film, but was it just
So
that?
no, so oddly, it wasn't my idea. It
Okay.
was actually Megan's idea. Megan, the weightlifter in the film.
Yeah, yeah.
It was her idea. And she actually shot like a little mini promo and took it to her friend Pallavi, who is our producer.
Yeah.
And Pallavi came to me and said, "Hey, I'm working on this film, thinking about doing a film." And at that time, it wasn't about fibromyalgia, it
Hmm.
was about chronic pain in general. She said, "My friend has fibromyalgia. Have you ever heard of that? We're talking about doing a film about chronic pain." And I said, "Oh my gosh, my mom has fibromyalgia, but I said, I don't really honestly know that much about it.
Yeah.
Um, so I said, I'd really would be interested in doing this to help my mom."
Yeah.
And that's really how that happened. It was not me saying I'm gonna go out and create this film. It was really Megan's idea ultimately.
Amazing. Amazing. The right people in your life at the right time, kind of thing. It just
I
all,
mean, yeah, because I had no idea what was ahead of me.
yeah.
I mean,
This is
no idea.
crazy. It's crazy. And in regards to, because I know, I kind of know where I am in regards to my fibromyalgia. Sometimes it gets a little bit tainted in my mind. You're probably the same because of the social media following and stuff like that. You see all of these, go and get yourself checked out for this, go and get yourself checked out for that, get yourself checked out for that. And then sometimes it puts that little wheels of motion in my head. Maybe I have got something different. Where is your head in regards to the diagnosis?
Well, it's interesting because I previously had directed a film about Alzheimer's,
Hmm.
and I was having brain fog, fibro, which eventually I
Yeah,
realized was fibro fog, down the road. But I was having this
yeah,
brain fog, and I thought, oh my gosh, as I was making this Alzheimer's film, I was like, oh my gosh, maybe I have early onset Alzheimer's because that also runs in my family.
yeah,
My grandmother has it, my uncle has it. So I was like, oh my gosh, maybe that's what it is. Well, it didn't end up being that, right?
yeah,
So then when it came time we were working on the fibromyalgia documentary, and I was like, oh, well, I have that. I have that. But then in my mind, I was like, well, the last time you did a film like this, you thought that you might have something too, and
yeah, yeah,
you did
yeah,
not.
yeah,
But then when
yeah.
I
I hear you.
realized that, when I got more clear, and there's a moment in the film where I'm learning what brain fog is and what fibro fog is, and I'm like, oh, maybe
It's not
that.
Alzheimer's.
I would
Yeah,
begin to
yeah,
put those pieces together that,
yeah,
oh, maybe that was what I was thinking was early onset dementia was
yeah,
actually brain fog. Like things began to click
yeah.
um together as we were making it. I mean, truly,
But
as we were making the film over
that's
the
that's
course of a couple years.
it's crazy how you caught it all on camera as it was unfolding. Like we were seeing it as you was hearing it,
Yeah,
kind of thing. You know? Yeah. No, that's amazing. And how are you? How are you? What's your thought process now? Is there still times where you think, have the doctors missed something? Could it be a lead up to something else?
absolutely. There are
Yeah.
still days where I'm like, do I really have fibromyalgia? I know I did a
Yeah.
whole documentary about this. I know I spent 7 years of my
Yeah.
life researching this. I know what it actually means. And yet
Yeah.
there's still this part of me that is like, truly still, is
Yeah.
this real? Or is this
Yeah.
something else? Is there something else going on here that I don't
It's
understand?
it's actually comforting for me to hear you say that, because I feel like there's a big pressure on me with the following that I've got. It come out of nowhere, so a lot of people look at me like the fibro god of TikTok,
Yeah.
and I just say to people, I'm just documenting my journey. And when somebody says it's not real, I like to jump on them straight away and say, well, there's no test for certain things, there's no test for other things, there's no test. So just because there's no test for this, it doesn't mean it's not real. But then sometimes I sit there and I think to myself, what if I have got something else,
Yeah.
and it finally comes out, James fighting fibro, didn't have fibromyalgia after all these years. He had,
Yeah.
you know, and it's a bit of a worry. It's a bit of a worry for me to, I don't know. So, but
But then if that's the
yeah,
case, if that is the case, then that's the new story,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like we story unfolds like it what did for me in the
yeah,
documentary.
yeah,
It unfolds as it unfolds. And if
yeah.
that is the look at that is the turn that it well, I don't know why I did that. That
It like that. It
it
like
like that
that.
thumbs up.
Yeah, yeah,
If that's where it turns, then that's where it goes,
yeah,
and some followers would probably be very, very angry.
yeah,
I will say, it's been a very interesting journey for me on this film
yeah.
with with the people that are really happy with what we've done and people that have really disliked the film. And
Yes.
even within the fibromyalgia community that have really disliked the film. And I had a realization fairly early on that we weren't going to please. I mean, I knew that you always know that with a film that you're not
Yeah,
going to please everybody. It's not even
yeah,
possible. It's art. And
yeah,
art by its very nature is controversial.
yeah.
Art is saying, here's a point of view, and you get to look at it and decide what you think of that point of
Exactly.
view.
You're
And
never
so
gonna please everyone.
no, and so if I was
Never.
pleasing everyone, then I wasn't creating a piece of art. Then you know
Exactly.
what I'm
And
saying?
it's probably better that you wasn't pleasing everyone because it brings attention from all sides as well,
Yeah.
which is a good thing. It's when you're raising awareness, it's definitely a good thing for attention. Whether sometimes it's not the best attention. I get it. I get it constantly. I get people who's been following me for years now, and then I might do a video that I've never done before, and they'll say, I've been following you for years, but the video you've just done has made me believe that you have not got fibromyalgia because I never could have been able to do that. And I'm like, I've told you guys a million times that this is my journey. I don't tell you what you feel during your fibromyalgia. I'm just telling
Yeah.
you what I feel during my. It's a strange. Social media is such a strange place.
It is. And I've learned a lot. I've learned the power of the pause,
Yeah,
of taking a breath and not
yeah,
being reactive because of course
yeah,
that when it's it's twofold for me in that they attack the film and then they can then attack me personally.
yeah. They think you're
And
attached. Yes.
it's kind of one because I am
Yeah,
part of the film and I
yeah,
also created the film and it's
yeah,
me. And so it's like this weird thing and I can get reactive
yeah,
and I'm not
yeah.
perfect. I have gotten
Me too.
reactive,
Yeah, me too.
but I also sometimes have to just step away from it. When we
Yeah,
were really in the early stages of promotion of the film, I was on there like every day.
yeah,
And so it was constant. And so I can
yeah,
only imagine for because you're very active.
yeah, yeah,
And now
yeah.
I
I've
backed off. I'm
taken a
only
step
doing
back.
twice, 2 days a week of posting
Yeah,
on that account.
it is such a strange when like I say to you when I would get people that say it's not real and I would like always jump to the defense of to me I've been through situations in the whole of my life that things like words and stuff they don't bother me. Trolls on the internet they don't bother me, but what really bothers me is if somebody is going through a tough time and they see that comment that it might affect them. And I've
Yeah,
had a lot of people reach out to me saying they thought about doing something silly and they've seen my videos and they're glad that I'm helping. And I just think about them people when I see them comments. I think about them people and it makes me want to protect them people.
yep,
So I was lashing out at first and saying or doing a video reply, and then I started thinking maybe the person who's wrote that comment is going through something,
of
you
course.
know?
They
Uh,
absolutely are,
yeah,
particularly in this community.
yeah,
The trolls or the haters, they're always out there on social
yeah,
media, right? But what I had came to the very similar realization, because at first I was like trying to defend, right?
yeah,
Defend a position, not only of the film, but also of anybody who was responding because that they were
yeah,
getting nasty things said to them.
yeah,
I was trying to
exactly.
defend. I was trying to like the fight was coming out,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And then I had this realization of, oh, they're in pain. And I
yeah,
have to be constantly reminded that they're in pain or they wouldn't be saying this, or there's an ignorance
yeah.
around what fibromyalgia actually
It's
is.
either one or the other. It's
It's
either
one
one
or
or the
the
other. They're in
other.
pain.
And
Yeah,
so either way, I'm either needing to hold space to educate
yeah,
or hold space for somebody's pain.
Yeah.
And it's not easy always, as you well, I know, as I know,
It's such a tough one with like education, because I try to put a video, if a comment really gets to me or it's a really spiteful, they just keep commenting. Most of the time I'll block them, but sometimes I like to educate. But what I found with the education as well is there's a lot of people within the fibromyalgia community that will jump to my defense as if I need it. You know, they don't know me from Adam, but as if I need it. So I'll do a video response and say, right, you're probably hurting. I'm going to explain to you that this is the situation. There's loads of illnesses out there that haven't got tests and blah, blah, blah. And then I just see a bombardment of people absolutely slaughtering this person. So I've now decided to try my hardest, my very hardest, to step back and not make a video response to a hateful message, because you just don't know what someone's going through, you know. I don't want to be responsible for something happening to someone. It's not nice.
You really, really don't. Can I ask you a question?
Of course you can.
How did you get diagnosed? What was your story?
So my fibromyalgia symptoms started within a week or two of my brother's passing. So my brother passed away suddenly. He passed away on his birthday night out. He was drinking and he fell. He was on his own and he fell onto the train tracks and he got hit by a train.
Oh my God.
So it was just a shock to the whole family, like really, really, really close family. And I took, me and my sister, me mainly took control of the funeral. I didn't want to let it lay on my parents' shoulders. So I took control of everything. So it was kind of like a fight. I was in fight mode for 2 weeks. I didn't grieve, nothing. And then I started just feeling awful. Like my legs were really heavy. I started feeling really labored, chest pains, wasn't sleeping, crazy anxiety, pain, really, really bad pain that just never went away. And just like everyone else, really went to the doctors. But my diagnosis took 7 years to come through.
Wow.
So I went to the doctors. It probably didn't help that I moved house a few times, but I went to the doctors and they first found something wrong with, there was a liver marker, something was wrong with my liver. I went for a scan and they said I've got an extremely fatty liver, which they said they couldn't understand because I was so fit. Nothing ever followed up with that. So I kept going to the doctors and all of the tests would just come back like, just perfect. And then 2 years ago, about 2 years ago, it's coming up for 2 years, or just gone past 2 years, in April. I went to the rheumatologist and they said, oh, we think you've got a thing called fibromyalgia. We want you to go, which is hard for people to believe that they actually said this, but we want you to go home and Google what fibromyalgia is. And when I say that on my TikTok, a lot of people say there's no way they said that, but there is actually a few people just reached out to me and said I got told exactly the same thing.
I mean, based on the amount of sort of knowledge that the doctors have about it, I'm not surprised at all that that's what you were told.
Yeah, and I think that's what it is. I think it's a lack of knowledge from the medical professionals. I don't think it's their fault. I just think
they're not trained.
They're not trained for it. So no. What can they tell you to do other than give you a leaflet or tell you to go and research? And that's what I done. And I came home that day and I searched on TikTok. I had an account which was just a weightlifting account. I searched on TikTok for fibromyalgia in men, and there wasn't one single man that had fibromyalgia on TikTok that I could relate to. There wasn't one single man. And I put up a video of it was like a ranting video, and it went viral. And I just started seeing loads of people saying to me, oh my God, I'm so glad that somebody else is out there. And I thought that's exactly what I was feeling, that there was no one else out there. And it was kind of like a calling. It was kind of like, it felt it's a bit cliche to say, but when I spoke to the rheumatologist, the specialist, they said, all we offer you is CBT therapy, exercise and mindfulness and speaking about things. And I didn't really understand it then. I was a bit annoyed. I just wanted medication. I wanted
I'm
to go to the
sure.
doctors, find
Yeah.
out what's wrong with me, get medication and get
Get
better.
it fixed.
That's what you get taught when you're younger.
Yeah.
And I went home and I was fuming. And I soon came to realize that talking about it on TikTok or on social media is kind of my therapy.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's been good. It's been tough at times, but yeah, I kind of can't quit now because there's a lot of people out there that I think wouldn't be too happy with me.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not surprised you weren't there. There was no man. I mean, we couldn't find a
Yeah.
man to be in the film. I ended up being the man in the film, but that
Yeah.
wasn't.
How did you find that you was did you get a lot of people saying I've never known men can get it, and
Oh my gosh,
yeah,
yes,
it's
absolutely.
crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we did interview two men to be in the film, but neither one of them, they both refused the end because they just didn't
I
want to share they didn't want
can't
to, because
understand
of
it.
what we were going to ask them to do. They
Yeah.
really weren't willing to do it. They weren't willing to
Yeah.
show the not so great days. They
It's,
weren't really to express their emotion or feeling around it.
I really don't. I get a lot of um, I get a lot of people, a lot of men DMing me. Sometimes they comment and they say that this is a different account than my usual account, but I just want to say thank you. And I haven't
Yeah.
been brave enough to come out and tell people I've got fibro. And I honestly just don't get it. Being a man myself, I just don't understand where people wouldn't admit to having an illness just because it's so.
Because, well, I guess because of that heavy stigma, right? There is such a
Yeah.
stigma around it about that you're mentally ill, that
Yeah.
you're faking it, but all of those stigmas, and I think there's some great fear there
Yeah.
for everyone. And with the way in which society tells
Looks.
men
Yeah.
that they have to be strong, the way that
Yeah.
they have to act, I think that's a bit of what. And so you're clearly a sensitive soul. You're somebody who
Yeah.
is willing to open, and you have this calling, as you said,
Hmm.
which I don't think is cliche in this
Yeah.
instance, to really help people. And I
Yeah.
think that you saw this bigger why. If
Yeah.
you saw something bigger that said, "Oh, this is bigger than me."
Yeah.
Yes, I can go rant on TikTok and get viral, but there's
Yeah.
something bigger here. There's people that I can help. There's something that I need to do. And you felt it and you knew it, that you need to have this conversation to actually heal yourself in many ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's yeah, it's such a strange one for me. Like the some of the comments you get as well is like in regards to there's no way you can have this. You must be only doing it for money. And people don't realize the money you get on TikTok is not the money they think you get on TikTok. It's absolute pennies. And I've turned down so many promotional videos,
Endorsements.
thousands,
Yeah.
thousands of pounds in endorsements because somebody wants to give me a plaster that will fix osteoarthritis, and somebody
Yeah.
wants to give me a hair gel that will fix asthma, and I'm just not. It's just not me. I
Yeah.
can't do
Yeah.
it. And I want to show these people that say these emails, and say, look how much money I could have made and I've made 12p today from TikTok, and oh,
I get that
it's
because people say the same about the documentary that,
yeah,
I'm trying to make money off of fibromyalgia. And I'm like, oh, you have no idea.
yeah, yeah,
I've
yeah.
literally made nothing. And it's been
Nothing.
7, almost 8 years of
Yeah,
effort and putting into this. And I'm glad I have. And I'm really
yeah,
grateful for what it's done for me. Oh my gosh, the journey and my family. But to think that I've made money off of this, it's like we haven't even gotten people that we borrowed money from paid back yet. It's just, it's,
and it makes you think that sometimes I don't like to watch other people and what they get in. Sometimes I just think the world is in such a weird place where people like me and you who are doing what we can ain't able to get what we should, and there's people that shouldn't be getting what we should. But it's the world. It's the life we live.
it's the world, right? It's the
It's
world. You know, it's interesting you were talking about, moving, going to a doctor and a new doctor because we recently moved,
mhm.
and so it's then starting the process over again with a new doctor.
Yeah,
And I because they don't a lot don't not everyone, but a lot don't really know much or
yeah,
aren't trained appropriately. I decided I was going to take it in my own power, basically. And I walked in and I said, the first question I asked before he could ask me a single question, I said, first of all, do you believe in fibromyalgia? That was my first question.
yeah.
And he was like, oh, well, yes, of course. And I was like, great. And I said, what do you know about it? I said, because I said, the reason I'm asking you this is I've spent the last 7 years of my life researching this. I, and I have a feeling that I know more than you do about it.
Yeah.
And he
And
was
his
like,
response?
if his response was, if you've spent 7 years researching this, then you definitely know more than I do. And I was like,
It's,
great, you're the doctor for me.
it's mind blowing. It's.
And I know that
I've
sounds weird to be like, yes, I want you as my doctor, but
yeah,
for the
yeah,
fact that he was like, yeah, I mean, he was honest versus somebody who
yeah.
would, be like, hey, I'm the doctor and I know more. What can they, when they clearly don't?
It is so tough getting a new doctor, and I don't know how it works where you are where you're based, but when I was growing up and where I first lived growing up all those years, we had a family doctor for years and years and years. That's all changed now. That's
Yeah.
NHS is. You're lucky to get an appointment. It took me about 3 weeks to get an appointment, and that was me going to the doctors daily, ringing the doctors daily, and I'll never see the same doctor twice.
Oof.
So I can sit down and I can tell them a symptom that I'm having, and I'm hesitant to mention fibromyalgia
Yeah.
because of they might just say, yeah, it's which has happened before. And they'll go back, let me just check your files, and they'll say, oh, did you know that you had this came up in one of your tests 5 years ago? And I'm like, no, no doctor ever told me this. Oh yeah, and this came up 3 years ago. And it's just it's so messed up. It's so difficult to get someone that's
The right hand doesn't know what the left is doing, basically.
no, no. It definitely doesn't.
Yeah, it's not dissimilar here, although we don't have the NHS, so it's a financial thing. And
Yeah.
really what, for those that have the privilege of financial abundance,
Mm-hmm.
private doctors, people are just paying cash now in order
Yeah.
to be able to go to one doctor. Uh,
Crazy.
and it's a lot of doctors here now no longer take health insurance. Um,
It's
you know,
it's
all
it's,
the
it's world's gone crazy.
all of the doctors that are in our film are no longer practicing
No way. Wow.
because of that, because they can't afford it, because they're not being able to like actually care for the patients. Dr. Congdon, who diagnosed me, is her practice is no longer. Dr. Lipton, who really is the heart in many ways of the film,
Yeah.
she closed the fibromyalgia center. It's closed. It's really actually that talk about needing a follow-up to the documentary. It's really,
Yeah. That is
sad.
extremely sad. There's a lot of times that I speak on the NHS and what's happening over here just because I see it more than most because I'm at the doctors more than most. And I try to put across that it's not the doctors and the nurses that
No,
I've got a gripe with.
no, of
It's
course.
I believe they should be paid much more than they're paid over there. The good thing I believe they're trying to privatize it anyway, but that's another conversation for another day. But if they do, the good thing about it is the doctors and nurses will get paid more money over here, which they
Yeah,
deserve.
yeah.
But it's not the doctor's fault. It's the government's just absolutely run the NHS into the ground. It's in the worst state it's been in for the longest time, and it's sad because it's such a great service.
I have to tell you, it's interesting because over here, there's so many people that wish we had an
Yeah,
NHS because
yeah,
we don't have any access.
yeah.
Or you have to pay for the access. And then if you're
Hmm.
disabled or if you're unable to maintain a full-time job with benefits, and it's very complicated, really is.
Yeah, it's so tough. How is is fibromyalgia like put down as a disability in the US or in certain states, or is it all one thing?
It's all dependent on where you live and but no, it is not classified as a disability.
That is crazy.
No.
That is, yeah, that's so over here
But
it's put down as a disability, but to get disability like benefits over
yeah,
here is like one of the toughest things
yes.
you can do. It's
Yeah.
so stringent. There's so many, you got to jump through so many hoops.
And yet, when I went to get a new life insurance policy because I got married,
Hmm.
and I had to go through all
Congratulations.
these, pardon?
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. And I had to go through all of these tests. And then you have to answer all these questions.
Yeah.
And when I said that I had fibromyalgia, they refused me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a disability then.
It was a
It's
disability then.
Yeah, when that's another story for another day. The insurance scam. The insurance is such a scam, but that is it's so tough. What's your regime at the moment, Nick? How you were saying to me earlier that you're completely natural and you don't like pharmaceutical. You don't take pharmaceutical medication. What's
Yeah.
your regime?
So currently, and it has shifted and probably will always continue to shift.
Yeah.
I feel like it's this moving target because
Hmm.
fibromyalgia, as you well know, changes.
Changes. Yeah.
And so I'm constantly course correcting based on the sort of, it's a dance.
Yeah.
Think of it like I'm dancing. I'm dancing with my fibromyalgia.
Yeah.
Um, so I have a morning practice. I get up every
Hmm.
morning to stretch. I'm very stiff in the morning, honestly.
Yeah. Me too. Me
And
too.
so I get up and I stretch, and then I meditate.
Yeah.
That's before anything.
Hmm.
Just really to tune in, check in with my body. Where am I at? And I ask myself
Hmm.
those questions of what do I need today, basically. That's like
Yeah.
the biggest question that I ask myself. I eat a very light breakfast.
Hmm.
Um, and then I usually have my clients and my work, and I go midday, always midday to the gym. I take a midday break, whether it's a walk or whether it's
Yeah.
actually going to the gym. I
Yeah.
do something physical every single day. Um,
Amazing.
Pretty much, but I shouldn't say every single, 5 out of 7 days.
Yeah.
And it's really important for me that it's midday because if I wait too long by the evening, I'm just tired.
Yeah.
And I never know. It's like I'm getting older. I'm in my 50s now. So I'm like, is that because I'm just getting older that I'm tired,
Yeah.
or is that fibromyalgia
Yeah.
related?
Do you know what? I go through this. I go through the same thing, but I I believe it's the fibromyalgia thing because I got told when I was going through the diagnosis process. I think I was about 34 or 35, and I got a phone call. I think it was just before COVID time. I got a phone call from the doctors when they done a scan, and he said you've got two bulging discs at the bottom of your back.
Mhm.
Because I seen something on the paperwork and I said, but it says there's two bulging discs, and he said, oh yeah, we wasn't going to say anything to you because it's more than likely age related. And I said, what do you mean by age related? And he said, you're not a young man anymore. And I said, I'm 34 and I'm probably in better shape than most 34-year-olds out there. And he said, yeah, no, but it doesn't matter. He said, we don't consider you to be a young man anymore, which is just it's ludicrous. It's ludicrous. So I don't think it's the old age thing. I think it's definitely the fibromyalgia thing.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I see a lot of people like my father, uncles. They're much older than me, and they don't go through the pains and fatigue and struggle that I do.
Yeah.
So it can't be the age thing. Uh,
Yeah. And then, I mean, I'm very fortunate that I do work for
mhm.
myself, right?
Yeah,
That I've set up this my business so that the business can work for me.
yeah,
Um,
amazing.
and uh I will say I would say not once a week, but maybe every other week that I literally work from bed.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
stay in bed, I rest. Like if I'm feeling I know what my warning signs are in the body for the most part now. I listen really carefully. And if I
Yeah,
sense that, oh, you're starting to get fatigue, or, oh, okay, I'm feeling a little bit of body ache, I shut down business as best I
yeah,
can. I
yeah.
don't do any afternoon meetings, by the way. My meetings are all in the morning. My
Amazing.
clients, my meetings are all in the morning. So after I go to the gym or after I take a walk or whatever it is, if in the afternoon I'm just too tired, then I transition my life basically into bed. And I
Into
still
bed. Yeah,
work. I'll still work from bed, but I'm like literally laying down and resting, or I take the computer off completely if I need to. And
that
just,
that 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 leads me into a next question for you, Nick. That I struggle online, where I feel like I differ to the majority of people who I've been communicating with fibromyalgia in regards to, I'm more of an active person when it comes to my fibromyalgia. And what I mean
yeah.
by that is I really struggle to stay. You've probably seen me fidgeting a lot during
Mhm.
this meeting. I struggle to stay in one spot for too long. It's like my body just seizes up within
Yeah.
5 seconds. I need to move and crack something. It gives a slight bit of pressure release, and then I feel better for 2 minutes, and then I have to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And that's why I struggle mostly when I sleep at night. I'm woken constantly in pain. So I need to move. My body needs to.
Yes.
Um, it's like lubrication for the body. Are you the same way, or are you?
I'm the exact same way.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
hardest time for me is night
yeah. I
because
think
I
we
have
I think we're a minority. I think we're a minority in the fibromyalgia. To be
I
honest with
think
you.
so too. I have a hard time sleeping at night. That is the
Yeah,
absolute worst thing for me about fibro. And if I
yeah,
don't get the sleep that I need, then my following day I'm just bad. And so, and
yeah,
it's, but I mean, it's very rare. And I mean, very, very rare that I
yeah.
sleep through the night.
I like I was saying to you earlier. I had four days in a row last week or the week before. And that has been the first time in 9 years that I've slept through the night for one whole night, and it was 4 nights in a row. It was unbelievable. It was amazing. But when I say to people that I literally wake up 20 or 30 times an hour, they say there's no way. But I will lay on my side for 5 minutes, and my side goes from numb to pins and needles
Uh-huh.
to agony, and then I've moved to the other side, same thing.
I've,
Moved
I,
to my back, same thing.
I'm only laughing because I relate so much. I mean, it's not funny, but it is funny
Yeah,
because I do that. I wake up and I'm like, oh my gosh, okay,
yeah.
and then I have to
Next
flip to
time,
the other
yeah,
side. And then, okay, well,
yeah.
that
Then it's
lasts
the
for a
next,
while. And then I like try a pillow here to see if the
yeah.
pillow will help. Well, then both arms are now dead
I've got
asleep.
about 30 pillows in my bed. I'm like
Yes,
hugging pillows, arms.
exactly. That's exactly. I mean, very, very similar.
Yeah,
And so
I think
that's
the
truly
majority.
that's the
I think
hardest
I
thing
think
for
the
me.
majority of are the opposite way. A lot of people say, "I don't know how you can get out of bed. I don't know how you go to
Right.
work. I don't know."
Right.
So it just affects us differently. But I think the majority are the other way.
I do too. And for me, it's really that's the hardest time.
Mm,
Sleep.
definitely, for me, 100% as
Biggest
well. Yeah,
struggle.
I think if I was to get a nice sleep, then it sets you up for the next day. The fatigue is just so bad when you don't get a good night's sleep, isn't it?
The worst nights are that's the next day is hell.
Yeah, it's it's
Yeah.
it's so bad. So are you not on? There's no medication you take even during your toughest time, Nick. Nothing.
No, not currently. I for a while I was taking like a Xanax, which was,
Hmm.
to like to a muscle relaxer to try to
Yeah,
to like relax these muscles that were sleeping,
yeah,
but ultimately that's not probably it's definitely not something for the long term. They
yeah,
really, really don't like you to be on Xanax long term. And so
yeah,
that's a emergency case only, and I don't even have any more right at this moment. So I would have to go
yeah.
back to the doctor and then go through that whole thing again of getting it prescribed because here, I don't know how it is over there, but to get that prescription here is not easy.
It's over here. It changed. I feel like we have a certain guideline. I think they're called NICE, NICE guideline, and they actually said for chronic pain patients. I think it was a year or two ago to stop giving medication for chronic pain
Yeah.
sufferers, which
Yeah.
was a big thing. Back then. So yeah, it can be tough, and I believe there's a lot of chronic pain medication that gets used, but gets used in the wrong way
Yeah.
in certain, and it's probably a bit of an
Same.
epidemic in the US as
It's a
well.
total epidemic here. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen a few things on it. But there is one I take. I don't like taking medications. I never have ever since I was a child. But there's one that helps me, and it's the weirdest thing because just like fibro, sometimes what you do can help you, and sometimes what you do can't. So
Yeah.
you probably know it as cocodamol. Maybe it's
Mhm.
called cocodamol in there, but it's the strongest one we get over here. It's probably nowhere near as strong as the ones you get in the US, but it's strong enough sometimes. Sometimes it can work, maybe 3 out of 10 times, and the 7 out of 10 times it will not do a thing for me. It's
Wow.
so strange.
So I'm allergic to almost every medication.
Ah,
So the Xanax, when I do take a Xanax, a regular pill, I have to take a quarter of
oh,
the lowest dose. For instance, when I had my wisdom teeth pulled and they gave me codeine, I was sick for a month. I didn't get out
oh
of
my
bed for a
God,
month. Um,
terrible.
I had my appendix burst and they gave me
Yeah.
morphine and I nearly died from that.
Wow.
So I can't take medication. So that's part of it. And that's not actually in the film. And it's probably something that have been in the
Yeah.
film of when I say I'm not taking the medication. There's a reason
Yeah.
that we didn't do in the edit, probably that maybe needed to have been said, which could have been helpful. But
Yeah.
I'm so allergic to meds that it nearly everything that
Do you
I have
think?
allergies to everything, which is also
Do,
a fibromyalgia thing that I didn't know.
do you think that there may be a link between people who are allergic to medications and fibromyalgia? Because I get a lot of people. When you said that, it triggered something in my mind. There's a lot of people that contact me saying, "Do you know of certain medications that people can use that are allergic to medications?" Because there's a lot of people within fibro community who are
Yeah.
actually allergic to medication.
Yeah, I think it's that highly sensitive thing, right? There's so many
Yeah.
people that are highly sensitive, and so then you're
Yeah.
highly sensitive to the drug. And I have been since
Yeah.
a kid,
Yeah.
always. My dad jokes and calls me the highly sensitive child because I was allergic to like diaper,
Everything.
diaper, whatever they used to wipe
Green. Yeah.
your behind with, right?
Yeah.
Like your fanny. Like
Yeah.
no, you don't call that fanny in the UK. What do you call your behind? Fanny's the wrong word. That's the front, right? Oh
Yeah.
no!
Just edit that bit out.
Edit, edit, edit.
Yeah, but I know what you mean. Do you know what I get? I often get as well is, and I love a cup of coffee. I will only have one or maximum two coffees a day, but sometimes I can find that coffee can send me into like the weirdest of places. Like it's just affected me. It's affected my mind. It's affected the way I think. I feel like I'm in a different realm.
Mm.
And then sometimes it's like I could have 2 or 3 coffees, a pre-workout, and the caffeine just don't affect me.
Yeah.
It's yeah, I think it's that heightened sensitivity that just where your body's just or your mind is just broken. It will just affect you that day, and some days it won't.
Yes. Yes.
Such a strange.
Yes. When I used to drink alcohol, that was the issue for me too. Like one day I
Yeah.
could have a glass of wine or 2 glasses of wine and be absolutely fine. And then the next time I'd have a half a glass of wine and I was practically passed out at the table because I just couldn't
Yes.
handle it.
It's, I think that's what it is with the medication for me. It's sometimes when that medication works, I normally take it like if I'm really bad, I'll have it like 3 or 4 in the morning if I just can't sleep. And when it works, it's the best thing ever. It will just like knock me out. I feel numb. I feel amazing. And then sometimes it just will not work at all. Like nothing.
Do you take natural supplements, anything, or herbal supplements,
Uh,
anything like
uh,
that?
I take magnesium. I take apigenin. I take natural supplements for the gym every now and then. It's things like creatine and stuff.
Yeah.
Nothing. I take the best supplement I found that has helped me with my fibromyalgia is a thing called L-theanine.
Oh, I don't know that.
It's a yeah, it's a supplement called L-theanine. It's actually helped me much better with my sleeps. Um, but I found the same thing. It worked for me for about a week. I was having much better sleeps than I was. Still not the best, but much better. And then it's like my body just shut that down and it stopped. And I stopped it for about a month and done the same thing again. But it's the best thing
That
I
was
found.
melatonin for me.
Yeah. And was it good?
It worked for a bit and then it just stopped.
It's,
It was like a placebo. It was like it didn't work at all. I was like,
yeah.
what it is how,
And you
why
start
did it
thinking,
work?
is it a placebo? You start thinking, is it a placebo or is it the fibro because it's not my body's not working correctly or regulating?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because for sleep,
I've
I've tried a lot of different things. I tried over the counter. I tried, like I
yeah,
said, the Xanax. I tried like because that has been the worst thing for
yeah,
me.
for me too.
And I've not, that is the one place that I have really not been able to sort of figure
Conquer.
it out yet. And that's,
Do you listen to any like healing frequencies or
yes, I have a
yeah,
brainwave, which that helped for a while, and then it no
yeah,
longer helped because I couldn't get to sleep because of it. So and I, it's like this rotating thing of trying different things. But
yeah?
yeah,
I feel that's what I think because we're so broken in that respect that some days what you do on a regular basis ain't gonna work for you. And like you say, you're doing the dance and you're figuring that out daily and it constantly changes. That's exactly what it is with me. And when people contact me and say, how can is there any way you can help me with my fibromyalgia? I always say it sounds rude of me, but you need to figure it out yourself. I
yeah.
don't think there's one person in the world that can say to you, take this. I mean, you might take L-theanine and it wouldn't do a thing for you. I might take serotonin or melatonin and it wouldn't do a thing for me. You know,
Yeah.
it's the same with everyone. It's such a
I
weird
think
condition.
I think that's why I said that in the film.
Yeah,
I can't tell you. I just can't because
yeah,
based on what I saw with everyone's it manifests so differently.
yeah,
And you and I have very similar, actually.
yeah. We
You're
do,
maybe the
we do.
most similar to anybody I've spoken with.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, like I say, I feel like we're like in a massive minority compared to what. That's why I think a lot of people, when I make certain videos and I talk about exercise, and they're just like, there's no way I could do that. There's no way you can have fibromyalgia, and I'm like, well, I've been told I've got fibromyalgia, so I've just got to believe I've got fibromyalgia, and this is the
Mhm.
way I deal with my day. So, but yeah, we're definitely very similar in the way it affects us. What's your outlook on any chances of help for us in the future? How do you feel
I wish I
like
could
that?
be like, yeah, I wish I could like say, oh, I
Yeah,
believe.
yeah,
But right now I don't, I haven't seen a whole lot of shift.
hmm
It's incremental.
yeah.
Incremental. But I do
I
think I do, and the whole reason that we created the film, and I do think that the more conversations like this happen,
hmm
and the more you're out there on social, and the more
hmm
people become aware, that is how change begins to
yeah,
happen.
yeah,
But a lot of people need to come out of the closet for a lack of
yeah,
better.
yeah,
Like, you were talking about how like people didn't want to come because they have come talk about it because they have fear about it, right?
yeah,
But we need people to like actually come out about it in order for the population to actually pay attention.
yeah.
If if that many people if the number of people that actually talked about it that have it, something would have to shift.
Yeah, it's a tough one, ain't it? Because
Yeah.
even today, I seen one of the comments. I tried to go through all my comments just in case somebody's there that really needs me. And someone said everyone seems to have this condition now. Everyone's just jumping on the bandwagon, and I feel like you just said, we need people to come out of the closet, figuratively speaking, and say this is what I've got. But when somebody is just about to do that and they see that comment, it
Yeah.
might just push them back into
Of course. Of course it
it's
would.
it's it's such a hard one. I think in my opinions to whether we will get any help in the future, I would like to think so, but I can't see any big leaps happening within our lifetime.
I don't either.
I,
And I know
I
that
just
sounds
can't.
like really that's not the doomsday, but
Yeah,
basically it's like you got to figure out your dance.
yeah,
Going back to that
yeah,
dance metaphor.
yeah.
Like what is your dance and find and figure it out because I don't think anybody's coming for
No,
us. Like
no,
there's no Superman that's going to come
no.
save the day and
Exactly.
it really is you just got to figure it out and on
And
your own.
we are literally at the bottom of the pile in
Yes.
regards to what needs to, or what they believe needs to be put at the hierarchy of conditions and diseases.
And a lot of that comes down to, part of the reason, I subtitled the film was that about, a life sentence
Mm-hmm.
is
It is.
because of what Tammy says in the film of you're not going to die from fibromyalgia,
You die with it.
you'll die with it. Or
Mm-hmm.
you may make choices. Yes, that we did have some suicide,
Yeah,
which we discuss a bit in the
yeah,
film.
yeah.
Yes, that's dying from fibromyalgia, but
Yeah,
that's a different way. But in
yeah,
terms of like the majority of the population with fibromyalgia, you're going to die with it, not
yeah,
from it. And so therefore, the medical community doesn't see it as needed, as
yeah,
important,
yeah. It's not at the
the top
it's
of
just
the
not
heap.
it's not at the forefront of the medical professionals' minds, is it
Not.
at all? And I think it's a lot to do with the unknown of it as well.
Yes.
It's
They
such a
don't,
complex condition.
I mean, they really don't like to not know.
No, no. There was actually one doctor that made a TikTok, and he was brilliant. He was a doctor in the UK, and he said um he stitched somebody else, another doctor, saying fibromyalgia is not real, and he said doctors need to stop saying this. He said the reason that doctors are saying this is because they don't know. They got taught a certain thing through going through university and college over 7 years. They never got taught this, and because they never got taught this, they don't believe it's true, and it's because they don't know, they don't believe it's real. And he said it's just not right for them to act that way. Just because you don't know something doesn't mean it's not real. You
Yeah.
haven't learned it. And it's so true. It's so true, but it's so sad. But like I say, I just believe we're at the bottom of the stockpile, and I can't see that changing for a long time.
Yeah.
But
Hopefully,
hopefully, we're going in the right direction.
but we're going in the right. I will say that we're
Yeah,
definitely going in
yeah,
the right direction, and particularly because, in the research that I did and the discussions that I had, I did over 200 interviews that you didn't see
yeah,
in the film, right?
yeah,
So of the people that I had conversations with, the trajectory of how far it's come, even in 40 years,
yeah,
20 years, 30 years, 40 years is pretty dramatic. So who's
yeah.
to say that it may not? And maybe, there could be, and what might happen is there might be, COVID actually opened the door to the
I think it
conversation.
did.
All those people with long
Yeah,
COVID, that shifted the conversation a bit.
yeah.
There could be research that ends up, what might happen is there's research for something else that then
Hmm.
they say, oh, that's related to fibromyalgia. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
Versus the actual research for fibro itself is
yeah,
highly unlikely.
yeah. I I tend to think that long COVID is more than likely actually fibromyalgia
Mhm.
triggered by the virus.
Yeah.
A lot of people have contacted me saying they got diagnosed with long COVID, but they believe they've got fibro, and whether it's the same thing or there's different things, and it's very similar. So that point that you made is a very good point, and I think that hopefully what's come out of that situation might elevate us a little bit further up the pecking order, but we can only hope.
We can only hope.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
what's a takeaway that you want the people that are listening to this to have?
I was just gonna say hope, but after that last few sentences, to be honest with you, I do want people to take hope, and I want people. I try to preach as much as possible, and it's probably my wife and my kids doing. To be honest with you, that we can have a good life with fibromyalgia, regardless of us being in pain every day. And I just want people to just take away the fact that we just have to do that dance with fibromyalgia,
Yeah.
figure out what works for you on that day, take it day by day, but don't just say my life is done. Um, Although we have a life sentence, don't just say my life is done. Try your hardest to be a bit mindful that you are alive. We ain't dying from it. Um, it could be worse in so many respects, and just take that away from it, really.
Yeah.
And
And
you?
yeah, it's very similar. I would say, live in the now, in the
Yeah,
moment. I know that's talk about cliche, live in the
yeah,
now,
yeah,
but really, truly, because you don't know tomorrow what you're going to feel like. Yesterday's done.
yeah,
Wherever you are today, do that dance and check in with the self and say, what do I need right
yeah,
now in order to up the quality of my life in any way possible?
yeah.
Because that's really all that you
Exactly.
can do.
And just be kind to yourself. Just be kind
Yeah.
to it's easy to beat yourself up when you're
Oh
going through.
gosh, so easy. Yeah,
Yeah.
for
But
sure.
it was amazing speaking to you, Nick.